getting there. So,
Also, everybody give her a hard time because it's her birthday tomorrow.
Happy birthday.
Right? It's tomorrow, right?
yes, in
Yeah,
like
at midnight.
in like 3 hours.
You're finally 12.
Hey, I'm old enough to drink alcohol. Just saying.
Yeah, I remember my first beer.
Whatever. I'm regretting inviting all of you. Ugh.
Oh, that's
Liar.
very encouraging.
Oh, I'm ready to play Bluebeards.
Gonna just ignore that. That was said. We are going to play with the concept of the X card. So the cool thing about the X card, if we were doing video, I'd actually do the OK check-in, which is basically the same thing, but it's the OK sign instead of having to although I don't know if I implemented it very well in an online space. I feel like it works much better in an in-person space. Basically, long story short, if you all feel uncomfortable at all, don't feel bad about interrupting, I don't need an explanation, just move on. That's the long and short of it.
I actually had a question about some of these moves for skipping ahead, but
We're not skipping
like
ahead yet.
some of these are basically looking for physical cues on the other person. I don't know how we're gonna translate that.
That's true. I'll figure it out. That's not for you to worry.
All right, I like it when I don't have to worry about things.
Yeah. It's weird being on the other side of the quote unquote table.
It
So
happens so infrequently.
yep, I'm glad. Maybe I'm not glad that it's my job to torture and entertain you.
It'll be fine.
So I'm gonna read the story of Bluebeard. Just be aware, this is one of many tellings, and our story doesn't have to hold strictly to this telling that I'm reading. It's actually out of the rule book. So if you read it, it was the easiest one, or the one that I had, obviously, at my fingertips. So once upon a time, there lived a lord whose palace was so splendid and so richly furnished that even the Sultan could not compare with it. He had dishes of gold and silver, sofas and chairs upholstered in the finest silk. The walls were adorned with every kind of curious antique. There was, however, something very odd about this lord. The color of his beard was a rich and shocking blue. His countenance was both distinct and unmistakable, and so he was never spoken of by his real title, which is grand and noble, but instead he was simply referred to as Beerblood. Yes, Beerblood. We'll just...
Bluebeard.
Bluebeard. He was a fearsome man with deep-set eyes, and he was known for having an uneven temper. Even so, I'm so tired right now.
This is gonna be fun.
I was gonna put this up on my YouTube. I don't know if I'm going to. Dustin, don't you dare do that. I see you're typing. I can see that. Oh.
Back to Blackbeard.
Beer blood. Bluebeard. Even
As Billy the Kid strolled down his hallway.
I'm sorry, I'm losing it.
I'm losing it too, and it's only 9 o'clock, so this doesn't bode well for the rest of the 25 or 15 hours. Or 14. I don't even know what number we're on anymore. I can't see the counter because I'm trying to read the story and failing. Even so, Bluebeard had been married many times. No one quite knew what had become of each of his wives in turn, as there had never been a funeral at the palace that anyone living could remember. They simply vanished, and when time passed, he would marry anew. One day, Bluebeard went hunting in the countryside near his estate. With the sun high, he came upon a dilapidated farmstead, and wished to slake his thirst and rest. The farmers were eager to please the powerful lord and sent their lovely young daughters scurrying to serve him tea and bread. Bluebeard? I don't know. Anyway, Bluebeard was instantly smitten with her beauty. He decided right then he would take her as his wife. For a week he entertained her amongst a cadre of other fine lords and ladies. No expense was spared. His wealth was dazzling in the way a cobra dazzles a mouse. After the single hedonistic week, Bluebeard came to call with a marriage proposal. Bluebeard scared the young woman, but she couldn't let her family languish in poverty, and besides, maybe his beer wasn't quite that blue. She accepted his proposal. In short order they were married at the palace. Such a sight it was. 1,000 white lilies decorated the pagoda for the ceremony. Delightful incense burned throughout the night. The young bride awoke the next morning in her bed alone, her marriage yet unconsummated. This caused her some amount of anxiety, yet also relief. She was escorted by a servant to the dining hall. There she found Bluebeard breaking his fast. He greeted her cheerily and bade her eat. Bluebeard informed her that he had received urgent news and must leave at once on a journey of much importance and would likely be gone many weeks. To console her, he kissed her affectionately and gave her the keys to every door in the house. He bade her to amuse herself in his absence. This is going to go real well. Here, he said, are the keys to your new home. The smallest key, my dear, is for the closet at the end of the great gallery. Open everything, go everywhere, save this one little room. I forbid you to use that key. The bride promised to faithfully obey his orders. She stood waving him from the palace gates, as his caravan of camels and horses kicked up a trail of dust as they departed. No sooner was he gone than she began to wonder what could possibly be hidden behind the forbidden door. Did he hide disturbing habits or unseemly desires? Were there some secret treasure known only to those of noble blood? Did he hide a mistress? Or was it something too terrible for her innocent mind to guess at? She distracted herself from the idea with the exploration of the palace. She inspected the galleries, each more magnificent and splendid than the last. She tried on exotic furs and rubbed herself in priceless oils. She visited the servants in the kitchen, which caused quite a stir, and luxuriated in steamy marble baths. All the while, her curiosity was gnawing at her. Was not the palace now her domain? Did her husband trust her with his secrets? She idled in her bedchambers, becoming lethargic and gloomy. The splendor of her surroundings took a sour bent. She could no longer take pleasure in them. Finally, she resisted the siren call of the forbidden door no longer. In the pitch of night, she took a single lamp and descended the back staircase to the gallery. Upon reaching the closet door, she paused, remembering her husband's command. She feared what might happen if she disobeyed, but the impulse of her curiosity was too strong to resist. With trembling hands, she fit the small key into the lock and opened the door. At first, with the weak lamplight, she could not see much. As her eyes adjusted, she realized what was in the room. The floor was covered in congealing blood. The walls were lined with headless bodies. Bluebeard's previous wives. A great scream tore itself from her throat, and she dropped the key. A few moments before she came back to herself. Or it was a few moments before she came back to herself. In a daze, she grabbed the key from the floor and rushed out of the room. She locked it behind her and returned to her chambers. In the daylight following the morning, it all seemed like a dream. But when she examined the small key, she found a stain of blood upon it. She wiped it carefully, but the blood remained. Then she washed it and scoured it with sand, but to no avail. That very evening, Bluebeard came back from his journey, saying he had received word on the road that the business had already been settled. His wife and his wife tried her hardest to appear happy at his early return, but on the inside she quailed. She waited in dread anticipation for him to ask her for the return of his keys. He did so upon the next morning. He looked through the keys and saw the littlest one was stained. How comes this blood upon the key? I do not know, she faltered. But I do, mocked Bluebeard. You have done as I have forbidden. Well, now you will go in once again and take your place among the ladies you were so curious to see. The bride threw herself at her husband's feet and begged him to forgive her disobedience, but Bluebeard had a heart of flinty stone. Prepare for death, he declared. No, please give me but a few minutes, so that I may pray. Bluebeard agreed and the bride rushed to the top of the nearest tower, hoping against hope that someone, such as her father or mother, may be approaching for a visit, so that she could give them a sign to make haste. Pennants whipped silently in the sun, but nobody was coming. The bride wept bitterly. Given no choice, the bride descended. He led her towards the tiny, horrible room. Near its entrance, he bade her kneel on the rough flagstone. She obeyed, weeping, and without ceremony, he chopped off her head and put her body among the other wives. So, we will begin with character creation. Who would like to volunteer to go first? You're still with me.
I think I'm actually ready if you want to.
So we're
time.
So what we're gonna do is each of you what we'll do is we'll do like everybody will do their gifts, like answer their gift question. How do I want to do this? Okay, I see. We'll start, so this doesn't take forever. We'll do 3 rounds and you'll answer like 2 questions at a time. So, go ahead and I'm not saying words. You can go ahead and actually before we do that, we should probably talk about the different moves in the game, because that seems like a thing everybody should know. So I don't know if I mentioned this. At this point, this is a Powered by the Apocalypse game, so there are certain moves that each of the sisters, which are parts of the bride's psyche, can do. In this case, they're called maiden moves. And this is a 2d6 system. So, and not all of them take dice rolls. So the maiden moves are care for someone. When you care for someone, you ease their suffering and bridle their torment. They may demand a demonstration of your sincerity. Investigate a mysterious object. When you investigate a mysterious object, you ask 2. Whose item is this? What memories does this item hold? What about this item is odd or uncanny? And why did Bluebeard keep this item? And take stock. When you take stock in a tense situation, ask 1. What stalks the bride from the shadow? What traps have been laid for the bride? What does this place demand of the bride? And what horror is hidden from the bride? Does somebody have the ring moves set up so that I'm not doing all the reading? Because I can already tell my voice is starting to go. Anybody? Bueller?
Yeah, so... Well, first, the maiden moves, I can't remember if Do you have to have the ring in order to do those?